What's going on, guys? It's your average programmer here, and today I've got a solution exercise for all of you. So today we are going to be doing the Fizzbuzz solution. We're going to be coding up the Fizzbuzz solution in C#. So if we open up Google, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Fizzbuzz. Apparently this is used to filter out 99.5% of job candidates who can't seem to program their way out of a wet paper bag. Wow. Now, if that's you, I'm going to help you out today. We're going to fix this issue, all right? So, apparently 99.5% of programmers are struggling with this, and this is what they use to filter out those 99.5%. So, what Fizzbuzz is, if you look down here, it tells us to write a program that prints the numbers from 1 to 100, all right? That's the first step. But for multiples of 3, print fizz instead of the number. And for the multiples of 5, print buzz. But the other caveat here is that for numbers which are multiples of both 3 and 5, print fizzbuzz. So basically, if a number is divisible by 3 evenly, we print out fizz. And if a number is divisible by 5 evenly, we print out buzz. And if the number is divisible by 5 and 3 evenly at the same time, for example, the first number divisible by 5 and 3 is 15. So for 15, instead of 15, we'll print out Fizzbuzz. All right, so let's go ahead and get this started. We are going to create a new folder on our desktop display on our home screen called Fizzbuzz. Obviously, you can name this whatever you want. Feel free to. And we are going to open up Visual Studio 2019 version I have. So whatever version you have, it should work the same. I'm going to create a new project. Oh, let me go back for you. So create new project. Console. Oh my gosh. Console app. And then console app once again, .NET Core. We're going to name it Fizzbuzz. We're going to go ahead and search for that folder we created on desktop. Desktop, it's called Fizzbuzz. Select. We are good to go. Go ahead, hit create. Give it a sec to load up. Let's get this thing started. So one of the best ways to, or one of the biggest things when it comes to problem solving, is to take that problem and divide it into smaller subproblems. That's one of the best ways to tackle any kind of problem, especially when it comes to programming. I know it may seem overwhelming to look at a problem or look at an exercise and kind of give up on it, but if you break it down into smaller problems, it becomes a lot easier. So I'm going to do this first in a while loop, and then I'm going to do this in a for loop as well. So whichever loop you prefer, either one works the same way. Just the syntax is different, or the way you write it is different. So first, we're going to go ahead and initialize a variable named count. That's going to be an integer, and as you know, C# is a statically typed programming language, so you must explicitly state what kind of data type it is. So it's going to be an integer. We're going to name it count. We're going to initialize that variable to 1. So again, as it told us before, the first thing we have to do to write a program that prints the numbers from 1 to 100. So let's go ahead and just write out a program with a while loop that prints out numbers 1 to 100. So we've got our initialized variable. We're going to go ahead and do while count is less than or equal to 100. So basically, count is the variable, obviously, which we've initialized here. Now, we're taking that count and we're going to compare it to 100. So as long as the count number is less than 100, we're going to keep incrementing up, and that's what we're going to do inside the program here. So we're going to say count plus plus. That basically means count plus 1. Another way of writing it, you can do count plus plus, you can do count plus 1. You can do that if you want. Or no, you actually can't do that, sorry. Count. We're going to stick to count plus 1. Count plus plus, excuse me. So it was count plus equals 1. There we go. That's what it is. Count plus equals 1. But we're going to stick to count plus plus for time's sake. So while count is less than 100, so the starting value for count is 1. While that is less than 100, we're going to keep incrementing count. And we can pretty much do whatever we want in this loop. For example, I'm going to go ahead and type in console.writeLine. We are going to print out the word hello. So go ahead, Control F5 to print it out, or to start up the command line. Give it a sec here. And we've printed out hello 100 times. Just to prove to you that it's printed out 100 times, we're going to console.writeLine count. So instead of hello, we're going to put our count variable in here. That prints out numbers 1 to 100. So 1 all the way down to 100. So we've got the first step. We're about a quarter of the way done. Go ahead and hit enter to exit out of the command prompt. So we've console.writeLine count. Now if we go back to our solution here, it says for multiples of 3 print fizz instead of the number. For multiples of 5 print buzz. For multiples of 3 and 5 print Fizzbuzz. So we're gonna do multiples of 3 and 5 first, just because that should be the more prominent one. So if count, our variable count, is equal to, if modulus count 3 is equal to 0, or I'm going to explain this to you in a sec. I'm just going to write it out. Count modulus 5 equal 0. This is supposed to be an and, not an or, because we want if it's divisible by 3 and 5, not 3 or 5. We're going to do 3 or 5 next. So basically, if the iteration of the count, so we're going to loop through this 1 to 100. If the iteration of count is divisible by 3, basically it has no remainder. What this percentage sign here means is that it has no remainder. So let's say we get to, let's say 10. 10 divided by 3 is 3 with a remainder of 1. So it does have a remainder. The remainder is not equal to 0, so that would not count. But if we go to 9, 9 divided by 3 equals 3 with a remainder of 0. So this statement is true in that case. And same case with this, but with the number 5. If we get to 10, 10 is divisible by 5 evenly. The remainder is 0, so this statement is true as well. So if that is true, we are going to console.writeLine Fizzbuzz. Else, I'm going to put an else statement just so we can have the rest of the variables printed out. Else, go to the next line here. Console.writeLine count, which is the number. So if it's not divisible by 3 and 5, we just want to print the number out by itself, the number itself, not Fizzbuzz. So we're going to go ahead and Control F5 and see, we've already got something working here. So remember, as I told you, the number 15 is the first number divisible by 3 and 5. So 114, when we get to 15, we printed out Fizzbuzz, as you can see here, because it's divisible by 3 and 5. So that's working. Then we go to 30, once again, divisible by 3 and 5, and so forth. So that statement is working. Now we're going to add an else if, because we want to do just 3 and just 5 as well. So else if, an else if statement is, how can I say this? It's another way of writing if this first statement is not true, then we're going to proceed to this statement. That's pretty much what it means. Else if count modulus, we're going to use modulus again, 3 equals 0, we want to once again, or not once again, but console dot right line, keep messing up my words here, and let me double check to make sure it's actually fizz. So console multiples of 3 fizz. Okay, so print out fizz, console dot right line fizz. And then we're going to do the same statement for 5. Else if count modulus 5 equals 0, we are going to console, it had it for me, it's messed it up, right line buzz. So this is pretty much it. We're going to double check to make sure this statement actually works, and we are going to do that now. Go ahead and control F5, and it looks like it is working. So 1, 2, 3. Once we get to 3, we print out fizz, because we said over here that if the remainder of count divided by 3 equals 0, we want to print out fizz. In this case, where did it go? In this case, this is true. 3 divided by 3 is 1 with a remainder of 0, so we print out fizz. Now if we check 5, 3, 4, 5, buzz, which is true. Again, if the remainder of count divided by 5 equals 0, we print out buzz, which is true. And you can check the rest if you want. I'm 99.9% sure this is correct. And again, Fizzbuzz for numbers divisible by 3 and 5. All the way to 100. All right, that's the while loop. Now we're going to go ahead and do the for loop. The for loop is a lot simpler when it comes to syntax. It's a lot more simplified, so this should be no problem for us. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. All right, so for loop, everything's on one line. When it comes to initializing a variable and incrementing and comparing the variable to whatever number we want to go up to. So we're gonna say integer I equals 1. Again, remember the data type. Integer I equals 1. There we go. And this I could be any name. You could literally give it Bunny if you want. It doesn't matter. The name does not matter. Let me delete this. All right. So as long as I is less than or equal to 100, same case as we did here. While count is less than or equal to 100, all we did was change the variable name. Actually, I'll make it the same just so I don't confuse you all. Int count equals 1. Count is less than or equal to 100. So we set the count variable to 1. We compared it to the number 100 because that's the number we're going up to. As long as count is less than or equal to 100, we want to I++, just like we did over here, but count++. Oh, I put the wrong variable name. Count++. Now we're going to go ahead and write our statements inside the brackets. What did I do here? Oh, that didn't need a semicolon. Okay. So if I modulus 3 equals 0, so if the remainder of, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? If count modulus 3 equals 0 and count
modulus 5 equals 0, we are going to console.writeLine Fizzbuzz. Else, we just want to print out the number. Sorry if I'm typing fast. I just don't want this to be too long of a video, so please bear with me. Else console.writeLine count, which is the number, the iteration of whatever number we come upon. So Fizzbuzz, if the number is divisible by 3 and 5. So we're gonna do our else if statements for 3 and 5. So else if count modulus 3 equals 0, console.writeLine fizz. Else if count, remember count is the iteration of the variable we come upon, modulus 5 equals 0, console, oh my gosh, my spelling is horrible, can't type today, console.writeLine buzz. All right, so I'm going to explain this code one more time. This is a for loop. We set the count variable to 1. So it checks, it goes from here, it checks whether count is less than or equal to 100. If it is, it executes these statements over here. So that's what allows us to count from 1 to 100. Now, as we iterate through those numbers, if count, which is the number we come upon as we're counting from 1 to 100, divided by 3, the remainder of count divided by 3 equals 0, and the remainder of count divided by 5 equals 0, we're going to print out Fizzbuzz. Else, if the count, if the iteration that we come upon, the remainder of it equals 0, equals the remainder of it divided by 3 equals 0. I said that wrong. So if the iteration we come upon divided by 3, if the remainder of that is 0, then we print out fizz. Else, if the remainder of count divided by 5 equals 0, then we print out buzz. Else, we just want to print out the number itself. There's some kind of syntax error. I guess I need to put a colon here. All right, we're good. Not a colon, but a bracket. All right, we should be good. So we're gonna control F5, and we get the same thing as we did before. Like I told you, you could use either loop. So 1, 2, 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1 with a remainder of 0. So we print out fizz. We go to 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1 with a remainder of 0. Print out buzz. Okay, that's good. Now let's check for 15. Yes, Fizzbuzz, because 15 is divisible by 3 and 5. So that is that. Please let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. This is a pretty simple task if you break it down into smaller problems, like I told you before. Don't look at a problem and think that it's hard just because you look at it as a whole. Take the problem, break it down into smaller bits, and tackle it from there. Tackle each individual problem from there. And that's a really good way to problem solve. I hope you all like this video. Please be sure to hit a like and subscribe. And I will be coming out with a ton more videos on C# and just general programming advice. How to not burn yourself out. How to stay motivated as a programmer. How to handle imposter syndrome. I'll be coming out with those videos in the near future. So remember, hit the like if you like it, subscribe, and be sure to comment down below. Thank you very much.